Hello and welcome to a video on what a variable and constant is and the different types you can have on Python. Variables and constants are basically small lines of code that allow you to store a number or some text or the user's input. On the screen at the moment I have some variables and a constant. Now I'm going to talk you through how you use variables and what the different types are. First we have two variables here. Variables mean that you can change them later on by having the user change them with an input, or changing them automatically by writing variable1 equals maybe 1 or something. Then you have a constant. It's only a visual representation, as you can still change it by writing constant equals something else. But you put it in capitals because you want the user to know that you do not want to change this. Even though you can, you don't want to. That is why you put it in capitals. Now let's move on to what a string, an integer, and a floating point are. A string is basically a line of text which you can print and save into files and things like that. You can join multiple of these together to create a longer line of text. An integer is basically a whole number. You can also print this on its own, but if you want to join it with a string, you can't unless you change it to a string as well, which we'll talk about later on. A floating point is basically the same as an integer, except for you can have decimal points now, not just a whole number. The same sort of thing is that you can print it on its own, but you have to make it a string if you want to join multiple of these together. Now let's move on to changing these strings to integers and things like that. So if I wanted to change this string to an integer, I would put int with variable1 in brackets. This will change this to look like this. But of course, because this has got a point 0, it will get rid of this, so it will look like that. Float variable2 means that you're making this integer into a floating point. So what you're doing is changing this to look like this. So all you need to do is put float and then variable2 in brackets, or whatever variable you have. Then if you want to change a floating point to a string, all you need to do is put str and then in brackets the variable or constant you want to change, which at the moment is constant, so it will change that to look like this. You can do these any way around, so just put int and then the variable or constant for an integer, float and the variable or constant for a floating point, string, str, sorry, in the variable or constant, and it will change it to a string. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something new, and I will see you in the next video.